Alright, we're going to try this again. I've been making some videos. I don't know how many I did tonight now. But I've really been on a roll, flapping my gums. So I figured, heck, maybe I'll keep going. If this one gets boring and I don't have something to talk about, I'll cut it short. But that crinkling you're hearing is the crinkling of a corn chip bag. Because I'm kind of getting a little hungry and I want to snack on something. So I'm going to be kind of rude here and eat in front of you a little bit, or I can hide behind my cell phone here. Alright, you didn't see that, did you? Red light, Arby's. They're pretty good. They're chili and cheese corn chips. Not healthy exactly, but not a bad little snack to take away when you're getting a little hungry. So, I started talking about my sister and my stepmom and stuff in the last few videos. And my sister, after she come out of the coma, well, she had a trach in her throat, so she could breathe better, so they could keep control her breathing better or something. I can't remember now. If I think about it, I'd remember it all. But so in the beginning, when after she actually came to, more where her eyes were open and stuff, we had one of the spell number letter boards, so that way she could point at a letter, spell stuff out for us. Because she had a trach, she couldn't talk in the beginning. From being in a coma, she was all on life support for me. And she didn't like it though, man. Of course, who would? But they had a feeding tube going, down her nose into her stomach or whatever. And like I said, she was a little spitfire. Well, I got some stories to tell you. Once she started getting more mobile, she kept trying to reach up and pull the crap out of the feeding tubes in her nose and stuff. And it's stuff that's keeping her alive, And because her body was in really bad shape, she had to have multiple surgeries, in the beginning, before she ever came out of coma, to keep her alive. And to repair organs and stuff that from her body crunching like an accordion. And so when she came to and started moving her arms and stuff, well, she started ripping her feeding tubes right out of her nose and stuff. So then they had to redo them and stuff because she wasn't aware. It's uncomfortable at first. She don't like it, but she had so much healing to do. They couldn't let that happen if she was going to stay alive. So it was hard. It was one of the hardest things for me because they ended up having to put these like padded mittens on her hands that strapped around her wrists, and then they had to tie them to the bed rails. So she couldn't move her hands around, because she kept ripping out her feeding tubes and stuff. And my sister knew I always had her back. I always watched out for her and stuff. But that was one of the hardest things because she couldn't talk yet because she had the trach thing. And now that her hands are tied up, she can't point at the letterboard no more because she kept trying to rip out her things. So it just made everything tougher. But I remember, just the way she looked at me, I knew what she wanted. She's looking at me and looking at her hands, and she'd like move her hand like she wanted me to untie her hand and set her hand free. And I said, sister, I love you so much. And I said, I know it's driving you crazy. And I know it's not fair. None of this is fair. And I said, but I can't untie it because every time that they've untied your untied your hands, you rip out your tubes in your nose and stuff. And she gave me this look like she was getting mad and frustrated with me. And I said, but right now, I know that's probably driving you nuts and crazy. It might hurt. I don't know what it is. But this is what we got to do to keep you alive. You know, you need to heal up and get better. And she was so frustrated. It was so sad. But it had to be that way. You know, I said, I'm sorry. You know, and I hope you don't hold it against me. But it's for your own good. You know, because every time we have your hands undone, you rip this stuff out, and we can't let that happen, or because you'll die. And no one else had told her that. I said, so, you know, eventually, if you ain't ripping the stuff out, then they'll let your hands be free. But right now, they're not going to do that, because each time you've tried pulling stuff out. And I think coming from me explaining it all to her, she didn't want to hear it from the doctor. And of course, you got to realize she's a teenage kid that's in this big mess now. She's probably not happy, mad at life, whatever, you know, rebelling out. And she was already a little rebel as it was. So, anyway, but she ended up healing from that. You know, we ended up getting that stuff undone eventually. And got her to start living life again eventually, and got her in the manual wheelchair that I wanted, and we got two of them. So, oh boy, she wanted the electric wheelchair to be lazy, kind of. Her sister wasn't, you know, like, she wasn't a skinny girl. She was a bigger girl, huskier girl, and she was not happy with me about the manual chair, because she really wanted the easy breezy joystick and go. And I really pushed for the manual chair, and I'm glad I did. I think if she would have got the electric chair in the beginning, I don't know if she would have made it to 26. She might only made it to 20 or something, you know. And I do think that manual chair helped extend her life quite a bit, because it did help her build strength. I really pushed hard on it. She didn't like it. She was mad at me a little bit about that. But then I kept the original wheelchair, and I told her, since I was the one that was pushing so hard, because Mom would have let her have the electric chair. The electric wheelchair. Not the electric chair. I find that so funny. Anyway, I mean, no one wants the electric chair. I don't think. Yeah. So, I told her, once she was home and stuff, and we're waiting on the wheelchair she ordered, which the first one she got, that was the custom order, was she got to pick up the color. It was like a hot pink and something, and had cooler black and pink stuff or whatever, which is good, because she's already going through enough trauma as it is. So, to have a little bit better feelings about everything you're going through, to be able to pick out a custom wheelchair with colors you like and stuff, that at least is a little bit of fun, you know. I mean, you got to make the best of the situation. But I told her we're going to keep that other wheelchair, because I know you wanted the electric wheelchair, but we'll keep the other one, and I will use that, you know. And I said, I'm not going to do it all the time, but I want to show you that if we want to go hang out outside, I'll do it too, you know. I'll show you that I got to do it with my arms too, you know, because I didn't want her to feel so alone, you know, like she was conquering this all on her own. And I know it helped, and I know it drew us closer together too. But she busted me out good and embarrassed me so much. So, we're going to go shopping at Signal Hills in West St. Paul. And, or Walgreens or something like that. I think it was Walgreens. I don't think Snyder's was there. I think it was Walgreens. And, that was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'd say maybe 5-6 blocks away, maybe half a mile or something like that. And she roped me in on it too because of my wheelchair deal with her. She's like, "Hey, let's go to Walgreens. You want to go to Walgreens with me?" I said, "Sure." So I was getting ready. I was gonna, walk behind her and like push her, grip the handles on the back of the wheelchair. And she says, "What are you doing?" I was getting ready to push you, help you out. She said, "No, you're not. You said you'd do it too." And she was right. I did. I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "You want me to jump in the other wheelchair?" She said, "Yep. You said you'd do it too." I said, "All right." And we had a ramp built, for her and stuff off the house and stuff. So I hopped in the wheelchair and oh boy, she held me to it, and it wasn't easy, let me tell you. Man, wheel in wheelchair half a mile to go shopping in a store and then back, It was good for me though, and it was good for her, because that way she didn't feel alone, and I was doing it with her, so it was good. Well, where I got busted out, I cheated. Because I cheated, she embarrassed me in front of everybody in the store. So we're shopping, and of course I am a male and she's a female. So she is going over to look at, hair brushes and makeup and stuff. And I figure, well, while she's doing that, I'll go look at what other stuff I like in the store, whether it's, kids' toys or, because I always like toys and stuff as a kid growing up, or maybe, maybe they had telescopes there, or electronic stuff, or whatever, I can't remember exactly what I was looking at, but so, I'm wheeling around this aisle. I can't remember what it was now. It'll probably come back to me later, but there was something on the top shelf that I wanted to look at. And it was out of my reach, of course, so out of instinct. My sister was a couple aisles over looking at makeup and stuff, right? So I figured, I got time. Maybe I can do this quick. And I know my sister. I knew it was important to her that I was doing it in the wheelchair too, but I was cheating. I stood up to get whatever was on the top shelf to take a look at it. And the timing couldn't have been more perfect for her, not for me. She come around the corner as I'm reaching up to grab this thing from the top shelf. And there's people in the different aisles that they're at her aisle, my aisle, and stuff, so there's people that can see us immediately. And she hollers at the top of her lungs and points at me, "You're a fake! You're a fraud!" On purpose, and yelled it really loud so everybody looked. And here I am standing up with this wheelchair by me, and I'm standing up grabbing something. And this girl in the wheelchair is hollering, "I'm a fake and I'm a fraud." Oh my God, I must have turned beet red like I am now from this light. Oh, I was so embarrassed, and I felt like such a phony. And the way everybody looked at me and she was screaming at me, it was like perfect. I mean, it wasn't at the moment when I was living it. But she had every right to do that. She had every right to do that. And it was funny. Because then when the look on my face and all the people looking at me, my sister started laughing. And she did. She busted me good and made a big scene out of me. And I sat back in that wheelchair. So embarrassed and felt like such a phony and a fraud. And I told my sister, I said, "Yeah, I had it coming. That was really good." And she was laughing. I think that was one of the first times that since her accent that she laughed so hard, But I did. I had it coming, and even though I was super embarrassed and felt like a fraud and a phony. And it made me love her all the more for her sense of humor, Because she did it for the whole outcome exactly the way it went, and because she thought it would be funny, and it was funny for her. It wasn't funny for me at the moment, but look at me laugh today while I was telling the story. It was very funny. Oh, another wonderful moment in memory during tragic times. So that's just another way we can look at how wonderful God is, you know. I mean, she still had a lot of hard times. We had a lot of hard moments and trials, even from that moment on. But that was one of the great moments where we both got to really have a good belly laughs together. It's her busting me out in the middle of the store, making me telling everybody I was a fraud and a phony. How beautiful is that? It's so wonderful. God, I miss her. She was really cool. Hey, thanks for spending some time with me, sharing some of your time with me. Time is the most valuable commodity we have. So, anybody watching these videos, I want you to know I appreciate your time and that you're choosing to share some time with me watching my videos. Thank you so much. God bless you. And we'll see you on the next one.